From the depths of the vault, this is, of course, Eerie's Vault Live, your number one stream for the uncanny, the weird, and the unexplained. Good evening to all of you, or indeed, as always, good morning or good afternoon, good whatever it is, whichever part of the multi-dimensional universe, omniverse you are in, and welcome. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Lehan Eerie. We will certainly be opening up the phone lines in a few moments. So if you want to be on the show, I will tell you how to do that. But, as always, let's begin with a shout out to my patrons here, this ever-growing list. Jonathan Atta, Louise Matthews, Henry, Mr. E, Darren Jump, Steadbot, John Diver, David Morris, Ian Lewis, Ramona Craighill, Stu Graham, Brian Henderson, Jerry Shelton, Ryan Gaynor Smith, John Douglas, Bizjdish 143, Baby with a Laser, Rudolph Hooker, Paul Redruth, Pill Collins, Greg Russell, Iron Bug, Vincent Hegeland, Ben Hurl, Emu Cat, Adam Mitchell, Ginger Ninja, Fasten's Finest, Keith Say, Aaron Osborne, Melv, Heather Maund Jones, Todd Van Voris, Chris Slee, Andrew Dewey, Gregory, Catman, Natalie Leach, Amanda McNeil, Pamela Piffer, Buster Piles, Sawboss, Baroque Lobster, E.J. Osborne, Zach T, and Craig McClellan. Thank you ever so much, all of you wonderful people, for being part of the Eerie's Vault Patreon. Thank you ever so much, all of you. And let's see who's here in the chat. So, as is customary, the poll seems to have obliterated the top of the chat. Let's see. Buster Piles has got his trousers on. Hello, Buster. Welcome. Steadbot, evening. Evening to you. Welcome to the show. Aching Plums, yes. Hi, folks, and an early Merry Christmas. Yes, indeed. Early Merry Christmas to everybody. James Glass. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. Cat's Life. Hello again. Welcome back. Liz. Hello, Liz. Evening, Eerie and everyone. Is it feeling festive in the vault? It is a bit, yes. It's feeling rather festive here. Who else we've got? Theme Queen UK. Hello, Theme Queen. Welcome to the show. Johnny A. Good evening, Johnny. Who else is here? Fairquare Lion Trousers. Hello, Fairquare. It's an excellent name. Welcome to the show. William Kane Gateshead, good evening. Good evening, William. Welcome. Blazing Air 2B. Yes, it's Friday, and it's Eerie. Welcome to the show. Heath Campbell. Hello, Heath. Welcome to the show. Hello to you. Chris from Liverpool. Hi, Chris from Liverpool. Welcome. Glad you're here. Dingley Dell is with us. Hello, Mr. E. Hope you're well. Yes, I hope you are too, Dingley Dell. And there's Fleur. Hello, Eerie. Hi, everyone. Merry Christmas, indeed. Merry Christmas to all. It's fast approaching, isn't it? Faster than I was expecting, actually. I've made the mistake of... hello, Stephen. Welcome to the show. I've made the mistake of replacing my... I call it a wall planner. It's actually a year planner that goes on the wall, because a wall planner suggests planning of walls, doesn't it? It's rather the planning of the year. Hello, Ron. Welcome. And I've made the mistake of removing the 2025 one and putting up the 2026 planner, which has removed December 2025 from my usual line of sight. So frankly, I don't know what day it is, but let's say an early Merry Christmas to everybody at the very least, shouldn't we? I think we certainly should. Let's have a little bit of Eerie news. Alex Gomez Marin, 44, this is from elpais.com or elpais.com. Alex Gomez Marin, 44, believes in the usefulness of family constellation therapy for overcoming trauma, that it's possible to speak with deceased relatives through a medium, and that there are indications that reincarnation is real. He also holds a PhD in physics and has had a successful scientific career, publishing over 100 articles in journals covering fields from theoretical physics to neurobiology, as well as cognition and human consciousness. Gomez Marin was never satisfied with the answers provided by the worms, flies, and mice that he worked with, nor the narrow, constrained questions that science typically demands to produce reliable results. In 2021, uncontrolled bleeding in his stomach brought him to the brink of death. According to the scientist himself, he went even further. Since then, he has sought a new path of knowledge, one that tackles the fundamental questions of life, death, and consciousness that usually lie beyond the reach of conventional science. I was in a well, a very similar one, a well very similar to one I am quite familiar with, he said, and I looked up. I saw 3 figures waiting for me lovingly in the light. This light was yellow. The contours of each of these figures' faces and hair were perfectly outlined against the light. Their heads formed a perfect triangle in the circle of the opening. I knew who each of them was. They weren't deceased relatives, but spirit guides. I felt no fear. They offered me a kind of reed to climb out of the well. This is how Gomez Marin recounts his life-changing near-death experience in The Science of the Last Threshold, a recently published book in which he questions the narrow scope of conventional science, which does not recognize these phenomena as valid subjects for study. In an interview with Madrid's El Retiro Park, Gomez Marin says he has closed his animal research and now works with humans. Many of these experiments can't be done in the laboratory, and we collaborate with hospitals to be able to conduct, for example, studies of near-death experience testimonies, he explains. Now, he says, he carries out research as cheaply as possible because in his country of Spain, it is still difficult to obtain funding to study the consciousness, and even more so to study topics that are on fringes. He consoles himself with the thought that often the bulk of the funding goes to maintaining your mice or having microscopes. We don't need that. When asked about his dreams, he says, if I had a lot of money, I would create an institute for the study of consciousness, because currently scientists interested in these topics are hidden in different institutes. Neuroscience in Spain has a legacy from neuroscientist Santiago Ramon, very focused on anatomy, molecular science, on the minuscule, and I'm at the other extreme, consciousness. An institute would allow us to bring together not only studies on NDEs, but many other marginal and varied experiences. There's a history of parapsychological studies in Spain, people who did it well in their spare time. If it were professionalized, we could separate the wheat from the chaff, as he says. A large part of the population do believe that death is not the end in Spain. Yes, he said, in reality we're the majority, but a silent majority, who in school or in the media come up against the materialistic orthodox scientific vision. When people go to science to look for answers on these issues, they are no longer looking for them in religion, and they have encountered a somewhat dismissive response. How can you believe in this? And those people have felt small. Gomez Marin's premise is that unlike the most widely accepted neuroscientific theories of consciousness, which treat it as an emergent property of the brain, where neuronal processes generate our thoughts and emotions, the brain is in fact a kind of filter for a consciousness that exists independently in the universe. If you recall Steadbot's call from a couple of weeks ago, is one of the ingredients of that overreaching theory that we were discussing. This hypothesis, he says, could explain phenomena such as near-death experiences, which occur when there is no brain activity, or certain experiments in which consciousness expands as brain activity decreases. It's certainly a fascinating area of research, isn't it? I think that I think an institute is something. Well, one never knows, does one? But certainly, research requires cash, doesn't it? It requires cash, and really, that is the be-all and end-all of whether an institute will be set up. I think. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Carl Sagan said that extraordinary claims, of course, require extraordinary evidence. I'm sure all of us have been beaten around the head with that at some point. That idea comes from philosopher David Hume's reasoning on miracles, including in his An Enquiry Concerning Human Understanding, where he argued that no testimony is sufficient to establish a miracle unless the testimony be of such a kind that its falsehood would be more miraculous than the fact which it endeavours to establish. It, of course, leaves a lot of room for subjectivity, doesn't it? It's a fascinating topic, though. This from the reputable Sun. Okay, so Atlas 3I, or 3I Atlas rather, reaches its closest point to Earth, but it's not behaving like a typical comet. Still some sort of scaremongering being thrown around with this one, isn't there? On December the 19th, which is, I don't know if you've noticed, that's today, 3I Atlas is expected to come within 170 million miles of our planet, travelling at 130,000 miles an hour. This is close enough for people to see it with small telescopes, but still far enough away to pose no threat of collision. NASA has declared that there is no evidence to suggest the object is artificially constructed or contains any form of extraterrestrial life. However, researchers are not in total agreement. Several strange details about the comet remain unexplained. One study has linked the interstellar visitor to cosmic calendars used by ancient civilizations. Andrew Collins has provided evidence of a mysterious heartbeat coming from the object, which apparently follows a 15.48-hour cycle that oddly aligns with Earth's 24-hour day. Earlier scans revealed that the comet had been releasing these rhythmic bursts every 16 hours. New data from Spain's 2-meter twin telescope suggests that this cycle has changed as the comet approaches Earth. It is still unclear whether something within 3I Atlas has physically changed, or if scientists have simply gathered more accurate measurements. Regardless, Collins pointed out that these unknown vibrations align perfectly with timing systems used by ancient Chinese and Indian civilizations. NASA reported that the space agency had not detected any techno-signatures, technological traces of intelligent life, that is. Collins' findings were based on Earth-based and space telescope data tracking Atlas since it was first discovered way back in July. The level of precision that Collins sees appears to be too perfect to be a coincidence. The comet's 15.48-hour cycle fits exactly into 387 units, while Earth's full 24-hour day fits precisely into 600. Quite what the alignment between 387 and 600 is, I'm not sure. He suggested that the comet may be broadcasting a universal mathematical pattern which hints at intelligent design. NASA and the European Space Agency have dismissed the idea that Atlas is anything more than a lifeless comet with a unique chemical composition. Avi Loeb, who continually pops up every 5 minutes with some crazy theory or other on this particular object, head of the Galileo project as well, an initiative looking for extraterrestrial life, recently criticized NASA for not considering all possibilities surrounding Atlas. Alien technology is a potential threat, he says, because when you go on a blind date of interstellar proportions, you never know whether you have a friendly visitor or your dating partner is a serial killer, he said. When there are implications to society, we must consider an even unlikely event and collect as much data as possible. However, Professor Chris Lintott, an astronomer from the University of Oxford, says it's just nonsense. It's like saying we should consider the possibility that the moon is made of cheese. Thoughts on Three Eye Atlas, please, chaps and chapesses, in the chat. I shall be taking a look in there in a moment. A potential Sasquatch sighting, you know this is my favourite subject. An organisation says a Bigfoot has been reported along Pennsylvania interstate. And this was actually back in November, but I missed it. So, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organisation, the BFRO that is, issued a report online claiming that someone saw a Sasquatch along the side of Interstate 80 in Centre County, about 20 miles from State College. The organisation said a man reported seeing the creature whilst driving. He told BFRO investigators that it almost got hit by the vehicle in front of him. You know, that's how I think we'll end up with a specimen of this thing, you know. I really do. I think that's how we'll end up with a body of this, what I assume is a human rather than an ape. I think that's how it'll happen. At first, he said he thought it was a person because it was standing on two legs, but when he got closer, he saw a dark figure, upright and human-like in appearance. The witness said the creature moved fast and was able to cross the guardrail with no issues. It was tall and uniformly dark, but he could not say if it was black or dark brown given the distance from and speed of the figure. He didn't see any indication of clothing on the figure. He also said that the figure was thin and slender, that it did not match the stereotypical profile of a large and muscular Bigfoot. The witnesses also said that the legs and arms were longer with the arms extended downward below the waistline as it crossed. He said the limbs were not proportional to human limbs. The witness tried to explain away the figure as a person, but said that as he has the Waze app on his truck and there were no disabled vehicle reports for either side of the road, nor were there any disabled vehicles seen on that stretch of highway, then it probably wasn't. Equally, the witness could not explain why there would be an individual in uniformly dark clothing crossing a highway in front of vehicles going 80 miles an hour. He is adamant that he knows what he saw, as it was in broad daylight, and his eyes were not playing tricks on him. Do you know, I've noticed, I remember at school, and this is going back several moons ago, but I remember at school, you know, we were taught specifically, in fact, we were urged to wear some sort of reflective thing on your coat, on your trousers or something. I remember coats with reflective, you know, bits on them being pretty much required when the days began to become short in the winter season, sort of late autumn winter seasons. And nowadays, you know, when I'm driving around and it's in the dark, I'm appalled. Oh, this has just reminded me of something. But I'm appalled at the number of people wearing all black, crossing the road in the dark. You know, you can't see them. You can't see them anymore, particularly with these ridiculously high beam lights coming towards you on cars. You cannot see past the sort of corona of the headlight. And, you know, just if you're dressed in all black, wandering around in the dark, you really need to think about what you're doing. You know, put something reflective on. I always remember little armbands and things like that you should have on. But yes, here's a bit of eerie news for you, and I'm still not sure because I haven't checked the dash cam yet. But I was driving home in the dark across, and I've mentioned before, up here where I live, you know, there is ocean on one side and there's woodland on the other. And to get to it is, you know, some B roads and probably C and D roads, what I like to call sat-nav roads, the kind of roads with no lighting, you know, narrow tracks, things like that, all of which tend to be the national speed limit. So I was barreling along this road, and I think I had a very lucky escape here because there were cars coming towards me. Now, there was nothing, there was nothing in front of me on my side of the road. Coming towards me were other cars with those ridiculous bright headlights, and I slowed down because I couldn't, you can't see past them properly, so I slowed down. As the first car passed me and then I could actually see beyond it, there was I assume it was a person in the road, in the middle of the road, pushing a wheelbarrow, a black wheelbarrow, right, with their back to me, the same direction as me, on the same side as the road as me, pushing out, and this is up in the middle of nowhere. Now I think of it, there's no houses up there or anything, but anyway, pushing a black wheelbarrow. He had a black dog, I say he, and was wearing all black, and was just walking in the pitch black on the road with no lights or anything. Now, I saw him, luckily, but that could have been a terrible and very different outcome. Now, me being Mr. Eerie, of course, my initial thought was, my initial thought was, good God, I could have killed you, you idiot, and I shouted that as I drove past. But do you know, I don't remember him getting out of my way. I don't remember him getting out of my way. There was no impact. I'm certain it was a person. I must check the dash cam. I just don't recall. He certainly didn't know I was there. Had no awareness whatsoever of my presence in a car barreling towards him at 60-odd miles an hour. And certainly had no sense if he was walking in the road in the dark. But it just bothers me that I didn't recall seeing him actually getting out of my way. So I'm going to check the dash cam. I'm going to check it. And finally, in the news, that was a bit of a sideline, wasn't it? But in the news here, we have, I don't know if you've heard of DiscSat recently. Now, the conspiracists amongst you, hold on to something, because there is something here, I think, that you'll like. But DiscSat is a collaborative effort between NASA and the Aerospace Corporation, which breaks the cube paradigm of satellites and the way boxy satellite geometry is put together and launched, by introducing a circular plate-like form, aka, folks, a flying saucer. Frankly, let's just put it out there. Okay. It only measures 1 meter in diameter and is only 2.5 centimeters thick. So it's not a craft, but it looks just like a flying saucer. It apparently prioritizes surface area over volume and offers a superior power-to-mass ratio and internal real estate for instrumentation, effectively is solving the energy starvation problem that plagues traditional nanosatellites without requiring the mass and mechanical complexity of traditional folding arrays. DiscSats can be stacked like dinner plates within a launch vehicle's fairing, and then this allows them to launch a lot more of them, carrying dozens, even hundreds of units in a single mission without the parasitic mass of heavy deployment racks. So it's going to be cheaper to send things to space as well. However, so this is DiscSat, you know, they do look like flying saucers, but, you know, they also look a bit like a hard disk from a computer. So, but for you conspiracists out there, over on X, or Twitter, whatever people want to call it these days, there is a huge commotion about these things being launched at precisely the same time that Atlas is as close to Earth as it will likely be in its trajectory even. There is a huge amount of commotion about that. Why launch them now? Has it got something to do with Atlas? Who knows? Probably not, but who knows? To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. Yes, indeed, that's right, and the phone system, I'll switch it on soon. I'm just going to go back to the chat at this point. See if I can find anybody who's joined or anything interesting that we are saying, because you know it just absolutely buzzes away in the corner of the screen there. It's very hard to follow whilst reading the news. So Blackest Crow is here. Hello, Blackest Crow. Welcome. The Jolly Man. Welcome, Jolly Man. Who else do we have here? So, the Jolly Man, Dingley Dell, we've said hello to you. Would they tell us about extraterrestrial visitation? I think we've had extraterrestrial visitation on a number of occasions. Mike, hello, Mike, welcome to the show. Now then, William says, Avi Loeb, now there's a tube, if ever I saw one. I don't know what that means, but it's quite funny. Heath Campbell, hello. It says Luna equals moon. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here on bits of chat, so do excuse me. This is the unplanned bit. From a Twisted Mind is with us. Hello there, welcome to the show. Bigfoot/skunk apes are real or extremely rare elks or escaped circus bears. Already confirmed they will never admit they exist, always hidden, covered up. Yes, the Jolly Man. But why? Why are they covered up so? What is it that's the reason for the Sasquatch cover-up? Andrea Dingbat. Hello, Andrea. Welcome. Welcome to the show. Yes, Darren, it's always a problem to feel. I've encountered cyclists on country lanes at night and all in black with no lights or reflectors. It's dangerous. It is very dangerous. It probably was a person, but goodness me, what a silly thing to have done. Andrea says, got to wear high vis, both me and Jasper Mutt, so we don't get squished. Exactly. That's right. Exactly. Bigfoot would have to drive an automatic because his feet are too big for a manual. Yes, exactly right. That is right. Well, I assume he has a license, of course. Maybe he has like a Flintstones car or something. Who knows? The Mad Axeman is here. Hello, Mad Axeman. I think people have been wondering where you are recently. Emu Cat, hello, Emu Cat. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Yes. So, we're going to switch the systems on. So WhatsApp is going to go up first. And here's how it works. So you can share whatever you want, okay? Something that's happened to you, something that's happened to somebody you know. It can be a personal experience. It can be a learned experience. It doesn't have to be an experience. You can give an opinion on, for example, Three-Eye Atlas, or why is Bigfoot the subject of such a cover-up, or are aliens real, or is there an afterlife, or you could tell us your theories and opinions about all that kind of thing. You can talk about some of the videos I've put on the channel over the last goodness knows how long I've been doing this now, if you want to. Long story short, if it's about spooky stuff, paranormal stuff, unexplained stuff, then let's have a chat about it, shall we? And no bad language, please, if you can help it. And really, don't say anything that you don't want on YouTube forever, because obviously you're being broadcast on the stream, aren't you? That's what we do. So if you are in the UK, you can call 0141 673 3743. That's 0141 673 3743 to get through to a little robotic voice that tells you to please hold the line until I answer it. That's for the UK people. If you're in the USA, there is a New York City number, which is 929-673-3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. I liked that. I did like that. That's in the USA, New York City. Outside of New York City, of course, it's 1929 Mr. Eerie. And if you're not in the US and you're not in the UK, then you can use the WhatsApp number, which is 07903 775 899. That's 07903 775 899. And that's how you do it. Let's boot up Zoiper, which is what we're using to channel calls here. And we've got green ticks everywhere. That's very good. So the lines are open right now. First, I'm going to just go to one of the emails that I've received here, which is, or am I? There is a call coming in right now. Bear with me. Let me switch to this and find that app again and say, good evening. You're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, Eerie. It's Steadbot.
Hello there. Welcome.
Hiya. I just wanted to talk about something slightly different this time, which actually was something I experienced. And I was wondering if you would consider putting this out as a poll. So I was wondering if you minded talking about deja vu. But I don't mean like deja vu where you go somewhere and I feel like I've been here before, but I mean almost like I've had occasions where I've dreamt something, woken up and then just thought, oh, that was a bit odd because I don't think I've ever been in that place before or whatever. And then later on, that actual scene replays almost like a video.
Ah, yes.
I mean, have you ever heard anybody talk about that sort of thing before? Or?
I have, and funnily enough, have experienced, sort of intense, extended moments of deja vu myself. Which, and to be honest, this is entirely my take on it. But for some reason, I feel like it means I'm on the right path when it happens. I don't know why. Maybe that's just
okay. That's interesting. Yeah,
comfort for me. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's why I thought I'd bring the subject up and just see what people thought about it. 'Cause the only reason I kind of thought about it more intensely recently was because I was driving one of my kids to school recently, and he brought the subject up saying it was happening to him. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've had that. And I've even had moments where like I've dreamt something happening, and I've woken up and remembered it, but then like months have gone by or weeks have gone by, and I've totally forgotten about what I thought I dreamt, and then it's replaying, and the actual replay was almost like I even recall trying to tell a friend, oh God, this has happened before, I remember this happening. And I even remembered that in the original dream I was trying to tell him this, but he was so busy telling me about something else that he wasn't listening to what I was saying. And it was a weird kind of, almost like it was almost as if I couldn't break it, if you know what I mean. Like I couldn't change that video recording to convincing this person about what I'd seen, because that was exactly how it played out in the original. I'll call it a dream, but obviously it was more like a premonition, really, kind of thing.
Which is what Aching Plums in the chat there has said is that premonition, and yes, really it is, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's something that you have. Well, I personally feel like I have no control over it. I have no control over how frequently it happens or how frequently I remember them. But it is something that happened to me just a couple of weeks ago, actually, where the replay occurred to me in real life while I was on the phone with somebody dealing with something with work. And I was looking at something on the computer screen, and I was like, oh, I remember seeing this chat thing, and word for word, the whole thing just replayed.
It's always exact, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, just precise. And I just think it's an interesting thing in the fact that, like I say, it almost feels unbreakable. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet. I didn't know if that would be interesting for people to talk about, or whether you were interested in covering that at some point. But I just find that really interesting, and I genuinely have no explanation for it.
No, I wonder if there's been any studies done. We'll have to look that up. Well, we've got a poll happening now, so 62% have said it's happened to them.
Yeah, so it could be more common than people realise.
I think it could.
Strange.
And it's the exactness.
Because I mean, I've had people try to explain it. I mean, my eldest son, he tries to be. He's very much the skeptic in our family, and he believes that it's actually nothing more than your brain being tricked into thinking it's remembering something, almost like a, like when you get a buzz out of a chemical reaction in your brain, for drinking alcohol, for example. He thinks it's more like your brain having a buzz out of faking remembering something as it's happening, or something like that, and that kind of stuff, which is an interesting idea. But it's the fact that I could recall the moment after the premonition of thinking, oh, that was odd, I've never met that person before, or I've never seen that thing before, and then that thing appears later on in my life.
Yeah, it's very odd.
So, yeah, no, it's very odd and very interesting.
Liz says, my guess is it happens because time isn't really linear.
Yeah, well, we were discussing that a couple of weeks ago, weren't we? We were talking about consciousness, and that news article you read at the start was very interesting, because it kind of touched on the same thing again, didn't it, about consciousness and the way we're sort of tapping into something rather than it being our own.
It certainly did, and yes, it's one of those subjects that's, well, I mean, as is everything that we discuss here, probably very bereft of actual tangible reasoning, isn't it? Which
yeah, it's that mixture of like the quantum mechanics thing again, isn't it? As soon as you look at it, it disappears.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Trying to explain it, and it's gone.
Yeah, and it's like you were talking earlier about the fact that people won't research it, and I think it's because nobody can see a profitable application for explaining it, and that's probably why nobody invests in it.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Or nobody publicly invests in it in the open, let's say.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, we're seeing things like them CIA files that come out now about remote
psionics, exactly.
So, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, thanks for that. I'll keep it brief, like I promised.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Half hour. You're welcome. No,
all right.
Take care. See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio. Goodbye. Yes. So there you go. That's deja vu. Now, wouldn't it be? Now, it would be hilarious, you see, if Steadbot called back again and asked that exact same question, wouldn't it? That should happen. But a staggering 74% of you have said it happens to you. 8 said it never happened to you, and then 17% said it happens to me, and then it happens again. Yes. So, deja vu. Yes. Now there is, oh gosh, now I heard there's another phenomena, which is something else vu. and he's, oh gosh, now that's going to bug me now. That's something I need to look for in the 10 o'clock break. I think Liz says that's appropriately eerie. That's to a different thing, but says my watch or clock is stuck a bit when I'm stressed. Say, but not for minutes. I've experienced where my the hand of a ticking clock seemed to linger just a little longer. But then you try and make it happen again by looking back at it, and you think maybe I just caught it just as it had ticked, and then it waited to tick, and then it ticked. I don't know if anybody knows that experience, but yes, that's slightly different. But Sheppy, hello, Sheppy says, I think deja vu is incredibly common. It can be a little unsettling. Certainly can indeed. And it's when you get the extended episodes of it, which is, so it's not just a moment, but it's I had a fake Rolex like that. It's black as crow. At the extended moments of I've lived this moment before. I've lived it before. There's something else. No, it's not voulez-vous. Oh gosh, what is it? It was the opposite of deja vu potentially. Jamais vu or jamais vu. So what's this say? Deja vu is the experience of something having happened before. Jamais vu involves a sense of eeriness and the observer's impression of experience something for the first time, despite rationally knowing they have experienced it before. That's the one. There you go, Steadbot. Yes, exactly. Gosh, it certainly is an area. It'd be a good topic for a video potentially. Deja vu and theories around it. I mean, you know, people call it a brain glitch, as Steadbot alluded to in that chat. A sort of glitch in the recording, the moment of recording the experience that makes us believe that it's being experienced again. There have been experiments conducted apparently testing familiarity-based recognition, where participants were given a list of celebrity names and later on they were shown a collection of celebrity photographs. Some photographs corresponded to the names on the list, others did not. The volunteers were told to identify the celebrities in the photographs and indicate how likely it was the celebrities' names were on the list they had seen previously. Even when the volunteers were unable to identify a celebrity photo, they had a sense of which names they had studied earlier and which they had not. That is, they couldn't identify the source of their familiarity with the celebrity, but they knew the celebrity was familiar to them. Gosh, it's a very odd sort of thing, isn't it? This is where the crossover with the brain and consciousness and soul and spirit, that intersection becomes a real sort of mired swamp, doesn't it, of connections and overlaps and all of that. Definitely. Right, we're going to go to From a Twisted Mind, who says, I have a short tale. Ooh, now, this sounds interesting. Let's give you a call. The tense moment of wondering if people will answer or not, and how long you wait to fill the gap. Oh, hello there. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Liam. How you doing, mate? Hello, everyone.
And what have you got for us? This sounds very interesting. Hidden, unseen. Well, I'll let you tell everybody.
Yeah, well, I had the experience with the tree.
Yes.
Which I experienced mind speak and terror and oddness. I mean, that was really an odd thing. I had the experience in the woods up at Kingley Vale. where it was really, really, really nice and picturesque and peaceful, and we had the incident with the tent moving and so on, and the stillness. But in my adult life, it all kicked off in 1990 because all my previous things, weirdness that happened to me was a kid. As a kid, I met a nice young lady at Glastonbury Festival, 1990. I was planning to go to Ireland and do a little tour around Ireland. Let's go at Glastonbury. She was angling, so she went with me, and we went off for 3 months, or 2.5 months around Ireland in a mini metro.
Nice.
A wad of cash and a tent, and just visiting all kind of weird places, and castles and history and that malarkey. But very early in our trip, we went to a place called Youghal, which is Youghal, and it's along the coast road, east to west, heading towards. It's in County Cork. It's in East Cork, and we got to Youghal, and when we came out of Youghal, rather than keep to the coast road, there's the River Blackwater, and a very small, narrow road, tiny little road that hugs the River Blackwater. And we decided, for whatever reason, to head off in that direction and look at a map and let's head here. Yeah, okay, let's follow our noses. And we did. It's quite heavily ravined, and it's very picturesque and full of lovely pine trees and all sorts of trees that go from the water up the side of the hills either side, heavily forested. Lovely sunny day, just happy out, as the Irish would say. And we were driving along the road, and the river is very bendy, so obviously the road follows the river, so the road's very bendy, and almost like an old Universal Pictures horror film, Dracula or Frankenstein. We saw this in the distance, this eerie looking place. Oh, sorry, yeah, no pun intended, Mr. Eerie. Yeah, this eerie looking place, and it was obviously on its own, and it was there's no villages along the road, no villages at all.
Yeah.
So we're driving along, and then we're getting nearer, and we're just chatting away, lost in our thoughts, whatever. And all of a sudden, we got round the river bend, and this place is a lot nearer, and it looks really spooky. It looks really spooky. It looked like Dracula's castle or something like that. And we're just driving along, and we're both aware that there's no houses along here because of the what on the right hand side you got the river, a sheer ravine going down to the river. On the left hand side you got a sheer rise, with trees on it.
Yeah.
There's nothing on this road at all. So we come across this old church in the middle of nowhere, and we just have a mooch around. We just think, how odd, if there's no houses here, why have a church? Thought nothing of it. Get in the car, drive along the road, and expecting to think, oh, if there's a church here, perhaps around the corner there's a village or there's something up ahead. So we continue on our journey, and then there's the road parts from the river. It goes off to a curve, so there's a bit of land between the road and the river, and there was a lane. There was a lane there, in the middle of nowhere, and we thought, well, just park up, and perhaps I needed a call of nature, so we just pull up here, and should we go and have a look at the river? Should we go and have a look? Yeah, and the weird thing is, this lane that leads to nowhere, so we thought, it was just straight. It was quite short, probably a couple of 100 meters. Woods either side. And we're walking along there, and we get to like an old-fashioned gate with just struts, and a cross member, so you can see through it, with a big faded, old, weathered, battered sign in white with red writing, "Keep out." So we get to this. Oh yeah, and there's a wall. There's a brick wall, crumbling brick wall on one side. I've got to mention that. There's a brick wall on one side, so we get there and we're just looking through, because there's massive gates. The timbers are only about 2 inches wide with a 2-inch gap between each one, so you can see everything there. And it's quite common because I lived in Ireland later on. It's just a deserted farmstead, collection of a big building, outbuildings, stables, whatever, all in like a courtyard style. Obviously belonged to someone, rich many years ago.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those especially down that area. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it suddenly dawned on me very early that this is in August 1990. So as I'm looking through there, I'm suddenly thinking, yeah, all these places are run down and there's ivy growing up them and there's all manner of foliage all growing over the doors and windows, all these places. And I suddenly realised it's August. Everything's green.
Yeah.
Everything there is dead.
Yeah. What's that about?
Yeah, what's that about? I mean, perhaps someone's gone in there and sprayed it because the Irish are very keen on using their Agent Orange. You can buy it in garden centres, unlike over here in England, and you can just spray these really strong chemicals to get rid of things. Didn't think of that. Anyway, it just struck me that everything there is dead, and I thought, oh, there's a well there and there's a dead tree beside it. I thought, how bizarre. But this is the weird thing. I had a strange feeling similar to the waving tree incident, just a feeling of being watched or a feeling of eeriness.
Yeah, that same awareness.
Awareness, yeah. So after a short while, we went down to the river, we came back, we looked in this place, and then we both felt a bit freaked out, but we didn't tell the other. And we thought, okay, then let's get on our way. And as we turned to leave, on the other side of the brick wall, I could hear something. And as we walked, I could hear footsteps.
Oh my God!
Dum,
right.
dum, dum. Yeah. Not a pitter patter of a four-legged creature. Again, I can only surmise. I've never seen a Sasquatch. I believe in them. Never heard of them back then. But it's the fact that as we stopped, it stopped. And then we looked at each other for about a second time with this happening, and we carried on our way, and we quickened up our pace. Whatever's on the other side quickened its pace. Okay?
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I just whispered in the girlfriend at the time, her ear, I said, run.
Yes, let's do one.
And I let her get a head start, and I ran out. It was just that feeling of being watched in sheer terror, and almost having that like mind speak thing in your mind. Get out, go.
Yeah.
Feeling of pure evilness, and that you're being watched. It's bizarre, but I believe all these things that you have on your show, I believe they're interconnected. And there's a simple explanation, and that is physics. Interdimensional ghosts, interdimensional Bigfoot, interdimensional mind speak. All these weird things, I think they truly are down to physics. And to reiterate that point, before 1945, there wasn't no one had seen a UFO in America. It all happened after Oppenheimer, the atom bomb, Area 51, all that kind of malarkey. It sort of spiraled there. I believe because the girlfriend's father, on-off girlfriend, her father was a top physicist, one of the guys who was foremost in getting the World Wide Web sorted out. Okay, and he refused to have the internet. And you got these physicists that had the CERN thing, the Hadron, what they call
the collider
accelerator thing.
Yeah.
Collider, that's it. Well, it's really weird because if you delve into it further, all these weird things, there are areas that are synonymous with all this weirdness, but they're also parallel to certain things in physics. So there are thoughts that when we started off setting off atom bombs, we attracted aliens, for example.
Yeah, so when we mess
Yeah.
with things, yeah.
Yeah. And there's also a belief that the CERN collider, when it was fired up, that triggered certain things. I honestly believe that Bigfoot are interdimensional, but I believe that we are too. But it's just that we are so unattuned to nature as humans nowadays. Whereas, 5,000 years ago or longer, we'd be tuned into nature more. I think humans aren't tuned in to what we should be tuned into. I think
Yeah, maybe we're just so distracted now,
I think we're dumbed down as a species. I think we're dumbed down.
Oh yeah.
Because the interesting thing is the mitochondrial DNA of Sasquatch, Professor Meldrum and so on.
Yes.
It always comes back human, female.
Yes, it
always
does.
comes back.
Yeah.
And it comes back human, female, Eastern origin, from the Middle East. But when it comes down to the nuclear DNA, it comes back, which is obviously male. It always comes back unknown. So I think, I don't know, it makes me sound like a wacko, but I honestly believe that all these things are interconnected. I think Bigfoot are capable of, I think they are human, whether they're Nephilim or not. And I think that in the future, all the answers will be found in physics, because I think us as human race, we're dumbed down and we're not tuned in. And I think everything will be explained in, I don't know, 100, 1,000 years' time. It'll all be explained. You know, and I believe that UFOs, a lot of them aren't from other planets. They're from under the sea, from a parallel universe, or they've existed in these things. But there you go. I'll shut up now.
Well, it's I would tend to agree with almost all of that. How long it will take for the explanation to arrive, and then what percentage of that I'll see in my lifetime, I don't know. But I do feel that there's an acceleration of interest and looking at these kind of things. So who really knows? But certainly, yes, the Bigfoot thing, I think you did right to run. I think you did right to run. But, infrasound and get out of my territory, all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, because no one can explain it. Anyone that's a skeptic automatically assumes, oh, they're lunatics, they're on drugs.
Yeah, you're making it up.
They're mental, they've got mental health, they're making it up or whatever. You know what I mean? But there's so many people that experience it right across the globe. And it's not just a Bigfoot thing. It's, you can be in, like, whether it's Skinwalker Ranch, whether it's what are they called now? Those walker things. Yeah, whether it's those or whatever. The whole mind speak thing, and the time standing still and being watched. It covers a lot of different phenomena.
I think you're right. I think it certainly does, and it's a vast area of discussion and research. We've passed the top of the hour, so I'm going to have to take a very brief break.
All right,
but
yeah, I'll stop rambling. I don't get out much. And, yeah.
You've opened up another can of worms for our brains tonight. Thank you ever so much for that call. Thank you.
Care, mate.
All right, everyone. Cheerio.
All of us now. Bye bye.
If you're a fan of the music used in the YouTube show is only a part of the vault. Beyond the broadcast is the archive. And at eeriesvault.com you'll find our growing library of case files, first-hand accounts of the unexplained, written reports from people who lived through something strange. And we need yours. If you've carried a story for years, if you've never had the chance to put it into words, and this is where it belongs, your report will stand alongside others, building a record that may one day help us see patterns that we cannot see alone. And it's easy. Go to eeriesvault.com, open the Case Files page, and hit the Submit a Case button. Fill in the details and send it on its way. Because strange events pass quickly into silence unless someone records them. Don't let your story vanish. Put it in the vault. From the depths of the vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live. Every Friday at 9 p.m. GMT, the lines are open. UFOs, aliens, ghosts, strange creatures, time slips, encounters you cannot explain. If you've seen something unusual, if something has haunted you, followed you, or simply left you wondering, then this is your place to tell it. Call in and share your story. You can watch the show live on YouTube or stream it directly at eeriesvault.com. And if you're too shy to call, then you can email ahead of the show at eeriesvault@gmail.com, and I will read your story out for you on air. That's Eerie's Vault Live, Friday nights, 9 p.m. GMT. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie. And this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. The unexplained indeed, and what a conversation we're having tonight. So, following on from Irish Bigfoot then, there is supposedly a sort of Irish Sasquatch, as it were, the Grogoch Gelt, a large ape-like wildman of Irish myth, similar to Bigfoot, but often more human-like, sometimes seen in forests like County Wicklow. It's a lesser-known cousin to the North American Sasquatch, embodying Ireland's own Bigfoot legend, though sightings are rare due to Ireland's smaller, less forested landscape compared to North America's. And in the approximate area, rather more to the south actually, from River Blackwater, there is Carrigrain Castle near Cork, and the ruin has a local lore about a deep pool called Hell's Hole, which is beneath it, where locals imagine a monstrous bipedal creature, part horse, part eel, haunting the waters around the castle's river bend. Some residents also link this castle and its surroundings with ghostly sightings and spooky cave tales. I'm trying to picture what a part horse, part eel biped would look like. That's certainly something to be frightened about in the darkness, isn't it? So there you go. There is apparently an Irish Sasquatch, and that's pretty much news to me, I have to say. So we have got the Blackest Crow waiting for my call back. So if you would bear with me a moment. Blackest Crow, I do want to hear about a terrifying premonition that happened when you were 10. Certainly I do. Here we go.
Hello.
Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi there. Yeah, I just thought each time I listen to these shows, it kind of triggers back like premonitions and stuff. I had 2 or 3 in my life, and I used to get deja vu a lot as a kid, but I find as I've got older, it's kind of just turned into premonitions. But anyway, I was about 10 years old, and this was back when I was living in London. And I mean, I couldn't sleep, and we lived in a flat, and I used to have terrible trouble sleeping. It was cold and miserable. And so I called out for my mum, and my mum came running up the stairs because it was a masonette flat, 2 floors. And she said, "What's happened? What's happened?" I said, "Oh, I've had a terrible nightmare," and I hadn't. And then she said, "Well, what was it about?" And I thought, "Oh God, here we go," because I got to think of something quick. I just wanted a cup of tea, you know. And so I looked at the wall. I don't know if you've ever seen that film, The Dead Zone, with Christopher Walken,
I
but
have
he had
not, no.
it's a good one. It's kind of one where he gets premonitions. Anyway, I looked at the wall, and all of a sudden, in the wall, I saw what looked like, and I was on it. Strangely, bizarre situation. I was kind of on it, and it was this. It was a boat, and it was keeling over to its side, and the windows were going bang, 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 bang as the water was gushing in.
Eh.
And then I saw it from the outside, and it was kind of red and white. And then I said, "Oh, we were on a boat, and it was going on its side, and it was kind of starting to sink." And she said, "Oh, that's terrible." And I said, "Yeah, and there's a propeller sticking up out the water." Which is odd because if you think of ships sinking, normally they go down. You know, you wouldn't expect to see like a propeller sticking up out of the water. But anyway, I thought nothing of it. I just thought I was having a vivid imagination, you know. And anyway, so a couple of weeks passed, and we're watching TV, and it was in the evening, and all of a sudden there was this bang, 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 bang at the door, and our neighbour Ernie came in. Now his wife was German, and she used to go over to Germany and places like that now and then. And he said, "Put the news on, put the news on." And we put the news on, and he came over and he sat down and he says, "Anna," and I said, "What?" And yeah, his wife, she was on the he thought, because at that time, you know, there was no internet or mobile phones,
Yeah.
and he thought that she was on the Zeebrugge ferry. And when it popped up on the screen, I mean, I just got goosebumps. And I said, I looked at Mum, and she just looked at him. She said, "That's what Greg had a dream about."
Oh.
And then at that point, it was not only panic, but almost like hysteria, because we were like, "That's exactly what I saw," including the propeller, because it went on down on its side on a, you know, on the like the bank, and it didn't fully submerge. Anyway, fortunately, we got the phone, because like that time nobody could get through to relative. You know, they had a relative number, but the press were phoning that number, and it was causing problems.
Yeah.
But we found out subsequently that fortunately she decided not to go on that, and there was a coach that was about to go on it, and it had British soldiers on it. And I had to fact check this, and I found it to be true as well. It was full of British soldiers, but one seat was available, and they offered it to her because they said one of the soldiers had, you know, had a bad turn, and she was welcome to go on that coach, and she turned it down for whatever reason. Anyway, so that was weird. But then many years later, I was talking to somebody on a chat room, probably about a good 15 years later or so, and I started to tell. We were talking about premonition. I started to tell her the story, and she said, "Oh, are you talking about the Zeebrugge ferry disaster?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, that's strange. My father was in the British Army, and he was going to go on a coach on that thing, but he had a
No.
stomach upset and he
Oh,
couldn't
no.
get on it."
Really? Gosh.
And I just remember thinking, that's odd.
That is
Yeah, it's
odd.
very strange. So I don't know, you know, how those things happen, but it's like paths cross as well, and those things seem to come true. And you know, that's one story. And I've got another quick one. I
Yes,
went
of
off to a
course.
conference with some colleagues, and we were going to an ophthalmology conference, and that was in Germany as well. And in the morning when we were getting breakfast, we were getting ready to go there, because you know what these things are like. You've got to stand up for a few hours and all the rest of it. So it's a bit of a slog.
Yeah.
And so we were having breakfast, and I said, "Look, I had a dream last night." I said the hotel was absolutely surrounded in blue flashing emergency lights. You know, my manager was like, "Go on, Greg, pull the other one. You know, come on, too much whiskey last night, whatever." I said, "No, no, no. There's loads of these flashing lights." Anyway, I said I thought maybe the place was going to catch fire or something like that. It got me a bit worried. Anyway, we went off to the conference. We Ubered off. We were there the whole day, and then on the way, when it finished, we were getting Uber to get back, and went outside and couldn't believe it. The whole road was just, as far as you could see, blue flashing lights. and just couldn't believe it. And it didn't sink in immediately, but then I realised that this is like a procession of police cars, and I
Yes.
looked at my manager and I said, this I told you, didn't I? And he started laughing. He says, "Oh, there must be a police station down the road here, or whatever." Anyway, we got in the Uber, and the driver, he said to the driver, "Is there a police station around here?" And he said, "No, no." He says, "There's a NATO meeting, and there's a general coming through." And it was the police escort, it was the motorcade going through. But we'd never seen so many blue lights before. So
Yeah.
I mean, what's that? It's slightly more than coincidence, and it just feels like for some reason you see these things. I know it's weird.
Yeah, it's and I think the term premonition sort of, because the way you're telling it, it feels like well, I wouldn't put words in your mouth, obviously. So let me ask it as a question. Would you consider it a prediction then, or just a glitch, let's say?
I don't know. See, I thought about that one long and hard, and I thought to myself, because I like watching all these things, and you hear about remote viewing and people trying to see movements of particular military people. And maybe you're on the similar wavelength of that sort of person that has similar kind of wiring in the brain. And maybe I was picking up on some other person's thoughts, or do you know what I mean? So, I mean, the first one felt like a prediction. The second one felt like a kind of almost I suppose they both felt like warnings. But as it happens more and more, I mean, there was the 4th of July was coming up, and we were going to go off and do some fireworks and stuff with my wife's family, and it was just a few days before, and I woke up and I saw smoke coming from underneath the bed, and I thought, what's that? And I stood up and I looked under the bed, and she said, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh, I thought I saw some smoke." And she said, no, it's all right. Anyway, we go to the 4th of July things. We've set off a few small fireworks that you can do out here. And then we're driving, going back to the car. And in the corner of my eye, just as we were driving off, we were gonna head back. I saw some flames, and the flames were coming from underneath a pickup truck opposite. And some guy had set off some fireworks in the bed of his truck. You think about it, it's a bed. And it caught fire. Now they'd gone in and they didn't realise the fire was still blazing underneath the car. So we dialed 911. I got some water in a bucket, and I started throwing it under the truck, because I didn't think the fire truck was going to get there in time, and this thing could go up. And I managed to put it out. And then I sat back in the car just before we left, and I thought, that's weird, and you think to yourself, do people get these feelings and ignore them, or is it just some people get them, or what's the purpose? I mean, what can you do with something like that?
What's it for?
What I mean?
And I suppose if people do get them and ignore them, then you're never going to know anyway, because they're not going to tell you. And does the act of ignoring it sort of extinguish it the more you ignore it as well? I suppose is it an ability?
I don't know, but I mean, the thing is, it's kind of, and I've tried to invoke them as I'm drifting off. I keep thinking, lottery numbers or something. You know what I mean? You sort of think,
I was going to broach that. Yeah, yes.
How can I use this to my advantage?
Exactly.
But there you go. Anyway, that's my premonitions. I've had a few other boring ones, but they're the ones that kind of really stick out in my mind as to that's just before it happened kind of thing.
Sure thing. Yeah. Well, very interesting indeed, as always. From LA, is it all the way over there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm supposed to be working, but
very naughty. But thanks for calling.
Cheers. All right. Take care. Thanks.
Cheers. Yes. All right. Goodbye. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, has made me think of another case. Let's see if anybody can guess what that's made me think of. A famous case in which premonitions became a particular focus. I don't want to give it away. I want to see if anybody can guess which one I'm talking about. So there was a particular case in which the witnesses to the escalating events actually actually experienced great number of premonitions prior to, well, some pretty harrowing events taking place. I want to see if anybody can guess what that is. That's guess with a capital G. See if you can guess what that one is. Now, how do I just switch this screen over there? There we go. Not 9/11, and not ABBA fan. No, however, there were supposedly some premonitions of ABBA fan. We're thinking, the Sellafield disaster. No, it's not. I'm thinking America. I'll narrow it down that far. But it just gave me, well, it made me think about this case, let's say. In the meantime, I have an email here that I've received from Elaine. Oh, and I have a call happening at the same time, so just bear with me, because the call will ring in my ears all night unless I answer it. So I must switch back to this one and say, hello, you are on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hello there, Mr. Eerie. It's Ian Parkin here.
Hello, Ian. How's things?
Not so bad, thank you. How's it with you?
Oh, yes, very good.
Good. Yes, I've got another experience of mine, which was when I was a bit younger.
Jolly good.
It's the one which got me interested in the UFO situation.
Oh, very good. That sounds an interesting one.
Yeah, and it's also related to, I think, what Dingley Dell was talking about the other week.
Oh, the clouds and things.
Clouds. Yes,
oh, okay.
Exactly.
Very good.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll read that now then. And it's the UFO that went into a cloud which vanished. It was August 1963, the last week of the school summer holidays. I was 9 years old and playing on the lawn of our back garden. The sky was a clear blue and the sun was shining. A warm, late summer day. As I was playing my game, I happened to look up and to my right. As I did so, I saw, up above the house across from us, a red triplane, which, as I think back, was somewhat like that of Baron von Richthofen. The three wings were extremely noticeable, and the sound of a single propeller engine rang in my ears. Surprised, I continued to watch, and it continued on to move past the house, and I began to gain height over the next, and at the same time moved to its left, lining up with a row of gardens towards the local park. It continued to gain height, heading, I now saw, for a single solitary cloud, which I had not seen before, thinking that the sky was clear. Now, this cloud, after I looked around, was the only cloud in the sky that I could see, and to return to the plane, it had now reached the cloud and had started to move into it. And as I watched, it moved entirely into the cloud and disappeared. I'll keep watching and see it come out the other side, I thought. Now, I sat there on a line, watching as I think back what seemed to be like around 30 minutes. But the plane did not reappear. I continued to watch until my mother called me in for tea. I could see the cloud from my seat at the table through the dining room window. So I kept an eye on it, but the plane still did not come out. And on going out afterwards, I watched for a while longer as the cloud slowly disappeared, never discording the plane. So what happened to it, I have no idea.
So where on earth did the plane go?
Exactly. Yes.
That is odd. Was there any particular sound or sort of sensation at the time?
Well, there's the sound, as I said, of the engine. That was well noticeable. And I didn't particularly feel, or I can't remember if I'd actually felt anything like the Oz factor. I mean, I do remember that I didn't actually see anyone. None of the neighbours seemed to come out or anything like that, or any of the pets, because there were a lot of pets around.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any of them, which I often do. And also, I don't remember actually hearing any birds singing, but then it's such a long time ago. I mean, I couldn't be certain.
Sure, yeah.
So,
But nevertheless, that might indicate Oz factor, mightn't it? The lack of birds
it might do,
singing.
yes.
Yes, yeah. So
Yeah.
how unusual. So the plane went into a different plane, as as Blackest Crow says. Yes, quite.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
do you think it disappeared, or is there a potential that it, I don't know, changed its, what's the word, trajectory and just was out of sight? It feels like it vanished.
Well, yes. I mean, that's what I felt. I mean, I didn't notice anything else apart from it actually just going into the cloud. I mean, I looked at it the first time. I said it's probably about halfway in at that point after I'd looked round.
Yeah.
And then I continued to watch it, and the whole lot disappeared. And as I said, I kept on thinking, oh yeah, I'll spot it coming out the other side in a minute, and it never did. I waited and waited.
Yeah, and maybe the other side was just somewhere you couldn't see it. If you were to
Yes.
If you were to speculate wildly and freely on this, what sort of direction might you go in terms of an explanation, no matter how off the wall it may feel? Sort of, where would you sort of go first in your mind?
Well, I think again, I mean, it's like what people were talking about earlier about the dimensional thing. I think there may well have been one of these portals, possibly disguised by the cloud.
Yeah.
And the occupier of the plane or whoever was controlling it or whatever, had come out, sent the plane out, or come out in the plane and went about their business, and then came back again and back into their own dimension through the cloud,
vanishing.
Vanishing onto another plane, as you say.
Yeah. Quite. Yeah. How very strange. Yeah, and the vehicle itself, the aircraft itself. Then you say it reminded you of what did you say, Baron von
Richthofen? Yes.
Richthofen. Sort of. I'm imagining one of those planes where you can see the person sat in it, if you know what I mean.
That's the point, you see. Yes, now that's the point. I can't remember if I actually did see anyone or not. I keep, I've been thinking about it, but it just won't come back to me as to whether there was or not. I mean, there might not have been. I mean, as I said, if it was a drone type thing or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, you have to ask, why was it in this garish red with 3 wings and all that? But
yes, if it was trying to be stealthy, you mean? Yeah, or
yes,
unnoticed. Maybe a very poorly calculated attempt at blending in by some technologically advanced, but perhaps not very tactful.
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like some of the early UFO sightings where they were dressed like out of the 1930s and 40s and things like that.
Oh yeah, where they were more like sort of huge, almost like jelly molds to look at.
Yes, some of the jelly mold type things, but and also the ones where they look like they come out of a B movie,
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Of which there were some great movies, by the way. There were some crackers.
Oh yes, definitely.
They really were.
I still watch them now and I enjoy it.
Oh yeah. We sat and watched When the Earth Stood Still for the first time recently. I hadn't seen it before, and I have to say I was impressed. Although Gort could have done a little more, I think.
Yes, that's probably true. Yes,
rather underused, but yeah.
Yes, underused. Yeah. But that's true, yeah. But yes, it's very much sort of like that. I mean, the 3 wings were definitely there. I can quite plainly remember them.
Yeah.
And the struts, on the sides.
Sure, yeah.
As well, yeah.
Possibly nobody aboard, which makes it even odder. Yes.
Yes, indeed, yeah. Certainly for that time, I mean, I wouldn't have thought there would have been anything that was sort of like the drones we see today.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, would you?
No, indeed.
Gosh, it's another interesting one. I'm glad you keep digging these up from memory, I have to say.
Oh yes,
Yes.
I've got quite a few more.
That's good.
As well,
Keep them
actually.
coming.
So I'll keep them going.
Yes, please do.
Okay, well, while I'm on, yes.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Paul Sinclair?
Paul St. Clair.
Yes. Truth Proof.
Yes, I have.
Right, yeah.
People mention him often in the comments.
Right. Yes. Well, I was listening a little while ago and you were talking about dogmen.
Yes.
Well, he has some content about dogmen seen on the east coast of Yorkshire. And I think he was talking about some recent sightings. So it might be worth following him up and see if you could get him on to.
It might well. And it's been on my radar, as it were, for some time. I did a video about a marble-looking humanoid from Bridlington, and I think Paul.
Oh, right.
I think it was Paul's channel where I found out about that, and it was just so weird. I had to tell everybody else. But yes, certainly he does a lot of on-location stuff, doesn't he? And
yes, he does.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff,
I know the channel. Yes, it is on my radar. As people will learn, I am dreadfully sort of bad at ticking things off my list. It just tends to grow.
Yeah,
but
I know
yes,
what you mean. I'm like that too.
there's just more things coming in. I have, however, thanks to yourself, managed. I did email. Oh gosh.
Oh, Jenny
Randalls.
Yeah.
One of them bounced back. One of them didn't. So I'm keeping everything crossed that it reaches her.
Great.
So
yes,
thank you again for providing those.
I'd like to hear her again. Yes.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah. I mean, she must be an absolute just fount of knowledge and experience on this. It'd be amazing. But things happen if they happen, so we'll find out, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Well,
Okay.
yes, thank you once again for that.
Yeah, that's fine, no problem. Nice to speak to you again.
You too. Yeah, I look forward to another one.
Indeed. Good night.
All right. Cheerio. Good night. Yes, so Ian gave me a couple of email addresses that we might be able to hopefully get hold of Jenny Randalls. You know what? That's on my Christmas list this year. It really is. It really is on my Christmas list. So what do we think to Ian's disappearing, possibly not piloted airplane vanishing into a cloud, which itself also vanished? Tell me what you think about that in the chat. And here's another call. Good evening. You're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Eerie. How are you?
Hello, Fleur. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I've been thinking of a little story to tell you. It's kind of historical.
Okay.
Because it was in a building. So I used to do history in secondary school. And we were told we had to study something called Quarrybank Mill. I believe it's near Manchester, or it's Lincolnshire, somewhere like that.
Okay.
And we'd all been invited to see this big mill. We're looking around it, and you were allowed to go into what was the house that the children of the mill workers or orphans used to go to school in.
I see, yeah.
And, you know, we'd been around it, and then they decided to take us into one of the attics where the kiddies used to sleep. So they showed us all the beds and everything. And she said, the lady who was talking to us said, I'm going to, tell you about some history of the house. Come on, sit down, sit on these. Basically, they were like replicas of beds that children would have slept in the Victorian era. Oh, sorry, did it cut out?
It did a little. Sorry, that might have been me messing about with buttons.
Yep, sorry about this. It was my... So we were all allowed to sit on these old-fashioned straw beds. Whether they were original, I don't know. They were just straw beds to us. And we were just listening to this lady sort of drone on about history this, history that. And me and a girl who was sitting beside me we were just pushed forward. Suddenly we just slammed forward, both of us. So we fell forward, and the teacher and the woman who was talking to us looked up, and she said, "Are you all right? Are you both all right? You know, stop messing around." That's what our teacher said.
Mm.
And the lady said nothing to us. She said nothing, and she just put her head down. And she continued on. Both me and the girl sitting next to me, we were all going, "What the hell was that?" Didn't turn around because we had to listen because it was part of the, you know, you had to write it down, you know, slave
Yes,
away,
sure.
slave away.
Yeah.
And we just come out, and the lady said, "Oh, you know, I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, just while you're in the attic, just be aware that there is some kind of paranormal activity that goes on up there. You should all be all right." And we just, me and this girl just looked at each other, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's why she said nothing. We've been pushed."
Oh. By what or whom?
Well, the lady mentioned that somebody had passed away in that area, and I'm imagining that there would have been a lot of children that would have passed away in the house because, you know, in Victorian times, children would have gotten sickly, they would have gotten ill.
Yes, of course.
But she said, "Oh yeah, there was people that passed away in this house, but in general, she just said, no, you should all be all right." No, she saw us being pushed. She knows what it is, but it was literally just like not like a push to the back, but just like you were being shoved, as though somebody's just gone and shoved you forward.
In the small of the back, or sort of.
In the small of the back. In the small of the back, and there was nobody behind. There was nobody behind us. All there was just these rows of little beds.
Yeah.
So it would have been hard for us to have been pushed when there's nobody behind you.
Of course, yes, naturally, yes.
So I was, you know, so we just walked out, and you know, somebody said to us, "Did you get pushed?" Yeah, I got pushed, and so got pushed. "Oh, it's a good job you didn't." And there's something. "Yeah, it's a good job because somebody was moving behind you." I'm like, mm-mm. So we're like, "Oh, well, why didn't you warn us?" And he just said, "I couldn't because it was too late." He said, "It was too late. I didn't tell you because you'd have all freaked out."
Yeah, and there was probably a bit much happening as well at the same time, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We weren't, like I said, we weren't allowed to actually look back and see what was going on because we were told, "You need to listen to this. It's going to be important towards your studies." But yeah, I say that I've been pushed by something at Quarryback Mill.
Gosh, well, there you go. Perhaps you were stood where one of the children's wardrobes used to be or something, and they just wanted to get some socks or something like that and bumped you out of the way.
Well, when I came home, I justified the theory of maybe I was sitting in a child's bed and they wanted to get into bed and they're like, "Get out the way."
Yeah.
Get out the way, I want to sleep there.
Could well be,
but
yeah.
No, that's like, again, I was like, "Oh, what's Victorian and kind of scary that's happened to me?" Like, Quarryback Mill incident. So, whether or not you're into any like a kind of like a old.
Oh, you're breaking up just a little bit there. Just repeat that last bit.
Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Sorry about that. I don't know whether you've actually been to an historic, somewhere that's supposedly historic and nothing ever happens, but it happened to you. Have you ever experienced that?
So now, do I tell everybody this or not? That's my. This is my quandary here. Let's just say I, once upon a time, many years ago, would often visit supposedly haunted locations, let's say, with a group, and we would essentially investigate them. And so I have not been looking for such things in historic places that were not already said to be haunted, but I have certainly experienced several, let's call them ghostly things, in numerous stately homes and old facilities around the UK and Europe. So, in a long-winded way, no, yes and no is my answer.
Oh, but I'm glad that's a good answer because, again, like I said, I've been to different chats where it's happened. It's not happened to in any of the local ones. It's just been the ones that are furthest apart that it's happened to. So I wasn't bothered about that one. But while we were in the mill, there was another thing that happened while we were actually in the mill, and I think somebody must have picked up on it. I can't remember, but we'd just go after the house again, and we heard what sounded like footsteps. Obviously, nobody's in the house. There's, there's nobody in the house. There's nobody doing the tour, and we heard footsteps sort of walking on what sounded like cobbles. So we all stood still, and the sound on the cobbles continued. And we're going, it's followed us out.
You didn't take it home, did you? That's the.
Well, I'm hoping not. I'm genuinely hoping that none of us took anything home.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'd be very happy with bringing anything home. I think there's already too many things happening in the house at the moment.
Yes, I don't think it'd find room for it, would you really?
No. At the moment, I can't give an update to your audience about the house, the flat at the moment. Nothing has happened, but there was an incident at the middle of November, which I forgot to mention. Obviously, with the new puppy, I've been crate training him. And when he was younger, I used to pop him in his crate and take him into the bathroom with me if I needed to get in the bath. And one particular day, I dragged him in, and I could only put it in the cage was that big, but I could only put it in the hallway. And Trickett was in the hallway. He was fast asleep. Obviously, I'm trying to just get dressed, and suddenly he just wakes up, pricks his ears, and he just started like a really weird screeching sound. He was literally terrified of something that I couldn't see down the hall. So I'm looking down. He's screaming, and I mean terrified, yelping, screaming at nothing there. So I pull the cage into the bathroom and slam the door. And I hear the door. It's strangely enough, it's never happened before, but I heard the door being sort of like when you open a window and you hear it go like that.
Oh, all right.
So I just stood there for a second. I'm like, right, whatever this is, shouldn't be scaring my dog. Don't scare me, it's a puppy kind of thing. So I opened the door again and let Trickett look out. Nothing. And I've not had that reaction since. But whatever it was, he was absolutely terrified.
He could see it, you think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
He could see what it was, but I still to now just go, I can't see anything. Again, I can't see it, but other people do, and other animals sense it.
Well, count yourself lucky, perhaps. But
I think I am. But as of now, he's not, wherever it is, he's not frightened of. I don't think he cares. And whatever it is not good about him. But that's the only time that I've seen him actually react to anything I think is paranormal.
Yeah.
The only time. But like I said, nothing there. He was just, like I said, screaming. I've never heard him scream like that. Like a yelpy sort of sound. It was cowering to the back of the cage. And I'm like, that's not a reaction that you get from a pet who's just been asleep for about, 10 minutes, and then suddenly he gets up and he's frightened to death.
Mm.
But so far it's been fairly quiet. It's just, that's the only thing that's happened in case I wanted an update, but I'm afraid that's all I've got for today. I'll have to remember some more.
Sometimes that's what it is, isn't it? But certainly, I mean, being pushed by a small, unruly, badly behaved ghost child is quite enough, I think.
Yeah, I think it was what it was. I just think it was a child's ghost that wanted to get into bed. You know, we joked about it. Oh, it was just
sounds like
one of the ghosts.
it sounds like something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were probably thinking, oh, what's this? What's these stupid 15, 14, 15-year-old teenagers doing on my bed?
Why they stood on my foot? Yes, exactly.
Yeah, why they stood on my foot?
Quite.
Well, but it was interesting, but I don't think we experienced more than just the pushing and the sound of feet on the cobbles that we're going to explain. So that was it. I actually forgotten about it, if I'm honest.
Well, you know, when sometimes you do, and then it's shows like this that sort of rekindle your memories, isn't it, and sort of trick your memory back into life. Certainly is, yes.
Yeah, it's just. I think it was one of your stories. I think somebody had rang in. I'm like, oh, that sounds similar to what's happened to me.
And you know, that's what we say on the show. Everybody, you know, the people who are a bit nervous or reticent about calling might find that actually people have had the same experiences as them. They certainly have.
And I'm going to be honest, I encourage people to tell that, because sometimes if you keep it to yourself, it can wear away at you at times.
Oh yes, I'm sure it can, but then people deal with things very differently, don't they? So certainly the people who do call, I'm very appreciative, but also people who just can't call, but they're still there in the chat and they're still listening. You know, it's all part of the experience. So certainly,
don't be frightened to tell your stories.
Yes, don't be scared.
We've all at one point got some stories. Like I said, I do have quite a few stories to remember, but it's just remembering them.
That's it. Well, there's always next week, Fleur, so you can... Well, actually, there might not be next week, but I'll tell you all about that at the end. But yes, certainly there are other times, aren't there? So thank you very much, Fleur, for that one. Ghostly Children.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Yes, the same to you too. Have a good one.
Christmas.
All right.
Bye.
Cheerio. Goodbye.
Bye.
Right, so ladies and gents, I have a particularly recent communication that I'm going to read out now. And I'm just going to kill the phone lines just for a moment so that it doesn't ring in my ear whilst I'm chatting. So I have to go back to live like this. I wish there was an Eeries Vault site we could send our photos to. Well, there sort of is. If you go to eeriesvault.com, the case files page, and submit a case, does that let you... Oh, no, it doesn't. It doesn't let you attach things. I'll work on that, John. I'll work on that and see if we can get that going. This just in, though, from our intrepid explorer, Mr. Buster. So, it's pasted and copied and pasted here. So, this happened 30 years ago. I've hesitated to send this to you because I don't think most people will find it that interesting, but for someone who enjoys taking nothing seriously, I swear that this is all true. I'm an experienced mountaineer. I've climbed abroad and summited more than 100 of Scotland's Munros, that's hills higher than 3,000 feet. Only once have I ever had life-threatening and weird experience, and here it is. A friend and I were returning from the Highlands by car and decided to stop by at the peak called Schiehallion. Sorry if I've said that wrong. On our way south, as it's an easy-looking walk with a car park near the base. It was March, and the weather was fine, so we set off and took only a short time to reach the triangulation point at the top. Nice view. Whilst having a cup of tea there, it started to snow. Then it really snowed. Pretty much a blizzard. We quickly started descending in the direction of the car park, which had been clearly visible from the top, except now we were in a total whiteout. I got out my compass, and weirdly, it had a bubble of air in it, something I'd never experienced before. We hadn't even bothered taking an ordnance survey map, as this was just a jaunt up an easy hill. So, walking down in what my internal sense of direction insisted was the correct way, I was confused as the compass, which I'd somehow convinced myself must be faulty due to the bubble, was telling me otherwise, but something made me press on. Before long it became clear that we were not going in the correct direction, because we'd walked for longer than it should have taken to reach flat ground. The visibility was about 10 foot in every direction, and we were walking into billowing, eye-stinging, crystal-white snow. At one point, I realized there were shapes in the snow clouds around us. Shapes that turned out to be a herd of red deer. I remember a big, shaggy stag looking right into my eyes from only a few feet away. This was strange because deer usually hear, see, or smell humans a long way off and run. I suppose they couldn't sense any better than us in the whiteout. Anyway, my friend and I staggered on in the snow, which was up to our knees now, and the ground was levelling out, but we knew we were totally lost, and without a map or the ability to see more than a few feet, I admit we were trying hard not to panic. My friend was a very big guy, and was saying he couldn't go on. I looked at his face and noticed his lips were blue, a clear indicator of cyanosis and the onset of hypothermia. I knew we had to reach shelter soon. We kept walking, hoping that we'd find some tree cover, or miraculously find that the care pack was just out of sight in the next 100 meters. Unknown to us, we were actually walking exactly 180 degrees in the wrong direction into remote wilderness. I staggered. I fell over face down in the snow, and shoop! Suddenly, I was about 30 feet up in the air, looking down on myself. It was the most peculiar feeling. I knew that it was my body lying in the snow. I could see my blue jacket and bright red backpack. I felt calm, not cold, just calm, not really bothered that I was no longer in my body. I don't know how long this went on, but I decided I had to go back to save my friend, and did what I can only describe as the breaststroke through the air, downwards into my body. It felt cold and strange. I forced myself to get up, grab hold of my buddy and tell him we must find shelter now, as I was in no doubt things were very, very serious now. Strangely, not far forward, we walked right into a bothy. These are abandoned small cottages that you find in the hills that people use to shelter overnight. We got out survival bags, and I stripped planks of wood panelling from the internal walls to make and feed a fire, which kept us alive through the night. I had to set a 15-minute alarm on my watch to feed the fire, as if we'd fallen asleep and the fire had gone out, I think we would have died. So the morning came. The blizzard had blown itself out. I walked up the hill at the back of the bothy and couldn't see anything like a road sign of mankind at all. Anything like a road or sign of mankind at all, but I could see another, smaller bothy further up the glen. So I pushed and demanded that my friend walk to it with me. He wanted to wait and hope to be rescued, but that would have been very silly. We made it to the shelter exhausted, and sitting there for only a short time, would you believe, a little Cavalier King Charles spaniel dog poked his head through the door. We bolted towards him, and yes, his owner, an older man, followed shortly after. He guided us out of the mountains, and to his Range Rover. I can't remember his name or anything he said, except that he said the temperature had been down to -20 the previous night with wind chill. He drove us to the car park where I'd left my car the previous day. He refused to take any money, but I slipped £10 into his ashtray when he wasn't looking. I felt I had to pay him. I somehow knew this was good manners, and there was just something quite peculiar about him that I cannot explain, but knew instinctively. He drove away and seemed to disappear beyond the bend in the road. We cleared snow from the car and managed to drive out and away. So as Shakespeare said, all's well that ends well, I guess. I look back and think we were lucky, we were silly, but it's a story to tell. But over the years, I've often wondered about how I made such poor decisions when I really did know better. I was no beginner at this. I've wondered about the strange otherworldliness of the whole thing, from the time the snow started until that odd little man saved us so fortuitously and delivered us to safety. It was as if we were in another reality during that time. And of course I've wondered whether my out-of-body experience was just a hallucination brought on by the onset of hypothermia. I'm a skeptic, as you know, but something about the experience keeps insisting that something unusual happened. So, funny thing, I looked up my book on Monroe's years after, and Schiehallion means the hill of the Sith. Sith is a word for fairies. The hill is almost entirely quartz, which was discussed on the channel, perhaps being linked to electromagnetic fields, the piezo effect, where crystals create energy when compressed, and the EM energies possibly affecting the human mind. I paste here a section from Wiki about the mountain on which I find curious. On the southwestern side of the mountain lies the well-concealed Uam Tomamorphia cave of the mound of the Big Man, featuring in the folklore of Rannoch as an entrance to the underworld. The Scottish Gaelic word tom can mean not only a natural hillock or knoll of round or conical form, but also a grave mound or tumulus. Accounts of a ghostly dog haunting the lower slopes of Schiehallion serve to reinforce such an association, since such portals to the supernatural realms are traditionally guarded in Scottish folklore and mythology by the Cusi. The mountain is also one of the... for people who don't know, that's a sort of, in parentheses here, fairy dog. It is one of the sort of black hounds as well, the Cusi. The mountain is also one of the haunts of the ancient winter goddess of Scotland known as the, I'm going to butcher this now, Cailleach Burr. I wonder why ancient Scots decided that this was the place of the Sith. Is it connected with the geological makeup of the land there? Does it interfere with human minds? Or are the legends true, and this is a place where you should be careful, blundering about, or the fairy folk might decide to teach you a lesson and send someone to make sure you leave and don't return? There we are. That's from Buster Theophilus Files, international man of mystery, advisor of strange stuff to the rich and famous, UK's foremost expert on the esoteric subject of ghostly undergarments, absolute Tyrannosaurus Rex in the arts of romance, and vice chair of the Wheel of Greg fan club, PhD, DSSCO, and honours. Well, Buster, you did it. You did it, sir, and that was far from boring. That was a very personal story that you have shared, and I thank you for it. An out-of-body experience to round us off, ladies and gentlemen. What more can we say other than thank you once again to all our contributors, Elaine and the person who's emailed me about the surname James. I will get to your emails next time. When the calls come in, I have to answer them, otherwise it just rings and rings and rings and rings and rings. So that's why. But yes, thank you to all my contributors today, to all the callers, and to everyone in the chat, giving it some there. Gosh, it's thriving, is the chat. And, of course, it is coming to be Christmas, and this is where I'm looking up where my wall planner was, and now it's gone. So... naturally, and Marky Boy, we'll get to that one next week as well. I think you've sent me an EVP or something, have you? We shall try and get to that one next time as well. Assuming it doesn't vanish, I'll try and download it or something. But yes, next week is, of course, Christmas Eve on the Wednesday. It is Christmas Day on Thursday. and it is Boxing Day on Friday. Naturally, you won't be too upset with me if we take a break over the Christmas week and reconvene here on the 2nd of January in what will be 2026, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe we are in 2026? So no show next week, but the week after, the first Friday of 2026, I'll be here. I hope you will too. I want you all to have a wonderful Christmas period. However you do it, whatever you find is the way to go, whether you're a big family type person or if you're the kind of person who just wants to sit on your own and eat cheese. However you do it, I want you to do it well. Please look after yourselves over the Christmas break, and we will reconvene in the new year. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you.